We're totally different people now, and we're the same. And we have the same love. 100%, like I'd never fallen out of love with you. I had just...
You don't want to write yourself off.
Right.
You know, and if you're going to hide the fact that you've listen, a lot of people didn't get to 50.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A lot of people didn't make it, so celebrate for them. That's what I try to say.
Yeah.
It started with a smile. Jennifer Lopez strolled onto the set of The View, expecting the usual song and dance, some flattering applause, a few softball questions, maybe a little surface-level chat about her latest project or her kids. Nothing out of the ordinary. But within minutes, the energy in the studio shifted. Whoopi Goldberg's expression hardened the moment J.Lo started speaking about balancing emotional wellness and motherhood in the spotlight. That's when it became clear this wasn't going to be a friendly morning chat. Whoopi didn't just bristle, she pounced.
Imagine, you think, oh, like this is gonna solve everything.
Right.
And it doesn't, it gives them a whole different set of issues that they have to work out. And you know, it's just about, I just think that life is kind of beautiful that way and that it balances out for everybody. And everybody has their struggles and everybody has their journey to walk. And you think it's gonna be one thing and it's another thing and it has twists and turns. And all you can do is like, love each other through it.
What was meant to be a casual discussion on family dynamics flipped into an unscripted throw down the second Whoopi, narrowing her eyes, interrupted Jennifer mid-sentence. Yeah, but it's not the same struggle when you got 5 nannies and 2 assistants, she snapped. Her tone colder than studio lighting in February. Lopez blinked, clearly stunned, her perfect posture faltering just slightly as she regrouped. The audience went silent. For a show built on hot topics and fiery takes, this was something else. This was personal. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees as Whoopi doubled down, questioning the authenticity of Lopez's emotional struggles as a mother and a woman who's never known a rent payment in her life. And then came the dagger. You talk about heartache like you just discovered it, but girl, most of us been surviving that since paycheck number 1. Jennifer, visibly shaken, tried to regain footing. Her voice trembled just enough to betray the facade. I've been through pain. Money doesn't protect you from betrayal, but the damage was done. It wasn't just an awkward moment, it was a dismantling on air, in front of a live audience, from one industry legend to another.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was more surprised than us.
Yeah. No, but it is. No, seriously though. I mean, that's just, would you ever have imagined that it comes full circle, it ends up like this?
No, you never could imagine something like that could happen. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're happy.
And yet, what viewers didn't see, what wasn't caught by the cameras, was the alleged explosion that followed backstage. Multiple sources with knowledge of the show's taping insist the real storm erupted once the segment ended. As the broadcast cut to commercial, Lopez reportedly stormed off set. One producer, speaking on background, claimed that security had to step in when a shouting match broke out behind closed doors. Voices raised, doors slammed. Someone allegedly dropped their earpiece mid-argument and walked off entirely. And when the dust settled, Jennifer Lopez was gone, without saying goodbye to the audience or returning for the next segment. So now the question, echoing across studio walls and social feeds alike, did Jennifer walk out of her own accord, or was she pushed? One longtime crew member whispered that producers had already been on edge about ratings and were itching for a viral moment. They knew bringing her on right after the Affleck divorce headlines was risky, the source said, but that was the point. They wanted something combustible. Another insider went further, claiming Jennifer had been set up from the moment she entered the green room. Her talking points were rewritten the night before. She thought she was going on to discuss Latina representation in Hollywood. She had no idea they were going to steer it into Ben territory and then blindside her with Whoopi. And it wasn't just Whoopi's biting words that caught fire. Observers pointed out how Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin both visibly backed away during the exchange, letting Whoopi go full throttle while staying diplomatically quiet. One producer even referred to it as a planned ambush during a private meeting later that week. And that's where things get even murkier. Because while Jennifer's team has remained tight-lipped about what really happened backstage, whispers suggest that a formal NDA may have been slapped onto her exit, something not uncommon when high-profile guests get tangled in off-script controversy. And that, of course, only adds fuel to the speculation that this wasn't just a spontaneous meltdown, this might have been orchestrated.
With rumors of divorce swirling, you wouldn't think now would be the best time to post a breakup song to Instagram. But that's not stopping Jennifer Lopez.
Now, here's where it gets truly spicy. One former assistant producer, who claims to have been laid off just 2 months ago, has come forward alleging the show's senior leadership has been under increasing pressure from network execs to juice the ratings or face a total lineup shakeup before fall. They needed a headline, and they knew J.Lo was low-hanging fruit, the ex-staffer said. Between the messy Ben stuff, her album flop, and those weird Instagram likes, She was already trending, they just had to push her over the edge. Let's not forget the context here. Jennifer Lopez has been riding a PR roller coaster ever since news broke that Ben Affleck moved out of their shared LA mansion, quietly, while she was off in Europe taking boat selfies and sipping cappuccinos solo in Positano. And now, in the middle of mounting divorce speculation, she finds herself facing open hostility on live television from a co-host who once went out of her way to defend Bennifer's brunch reunion. That's right, just weeks before this live on-air fallout, Whoopi had actually softened toward Lopez, even giving their affectionate post-split outings the green light. So why the sudden cold snap?
There's a story that I'm surprised that I am as interested in as I am. This is the rumor, now months-long rumors, of a divorce between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Could it be that Whoopi, ever the chess player in the game of daytime television, was playing to the crowd? Or to the executives? One theory making the rounds is that Goldberg was given license to go off script, even encouraged. She knew exactly what she was doing, said one guest who was in the green room that morning. She didn't just lose patience, she smelled blood. To be fair, The View has had its fair share of tension over the years. Spats, walk-offs, and headline-grabbing face-offs. But there was something uniquely raw about this moment, perhaps because it hit Lopez when she was already weathering one of the most public unravelings of her personal life in years. Her fairy tale marriage with Ben Affleck, rekindled after 2 decades, glamorously packaged for the cameras, has been slowly peeling apart at the seams. And no amount of designer sunglasses or coordinated brunches can hide the fact that the couple are living separately, quietly offloading art from their once dream home, and barely managing to co-parent without dueling realtors.
So lucky. It's not often you get a second chance at true love. We feel very lucky.
So was this meltdown simply a confluence of bad timing and unchecked emotions? Or was Jennifer Lopez lured into a trap by producers hungry for a trending moment and served up as sacrifice by a co-host who knew how to land a fatal line? The industry buzz says it wasn't random. In fact, there are whispers that segments leading up to the interview were re-edited at the last minute to insert a few extra clips of Ben and Jennifer's romantic history, just to warm the audience up for the drama that followed. And let's not pretend Whoopi hasn't shown signs of burnout lately. Remember her now infamous table collapse when the ladies started dissecting Bennifer's divorce? She didn't just slump over. She checked out, literally putting her head down on the table, while Joy Behar tried to spin things with some half-hearted commentary. It was a clear message, she was over it. Which only makes her sudden interest in skewering J-Lo on air even more curious. One cynical read is that Goldberg knew she could take the heat. At this stage in her career, she's essentially uncancelable, a daytime titan with nothing to lose, and no appetite for what she sees as manufactured sadness from someone with 25 bathrooms and a private chef. So maybe it wasn't just about Lopez. Maybe it was a shot across the bow at celebrity victimhood in general.
Hey, baby. You know, I always have to mention the other Lopez woman who I love.
Still, insiders are torn. Was it authenticity or theater? Several former guests of the show have quietly begun comparing notes, saying they were also encouraged to be emotional or go there in ways that now seem suspect. And if that's the case, then J-Lo may have been just the latest in a line of guests who walked into a segment without realizing they were starring in a drama already written. Whatever happened, it's clear the fallout wasn't contained to the studio. Hours after the episode aired, Lopez's reps began canceling media appearances. A promotional shoot for her upcoming fragrance was abruptly rescheduled, and those chirpy Instagram captions? Radio silence. One tabloid even claimed she briefly considered scrapping her fall press tour altogether, until her team reportedly convinced her that disappearing now would confirm everything they're saying, which leaves us with the question no one's been able to answer: why did Whoopi seem so ready to pounce?
And then people started saying it anyway. You know, you might as well just say it because somebody else is going to bust you, so you might as well say yeah.
But you know, I noticed something when we were on tour is that it did something. You know, I did it because I thought it'd be a fun way to celebrate such a big birthday, but it wound up doing something else. It put it out there for everybody that's like, this is nothing like to be ashamed of.
And maybe that's the real story here. Not just a clash between two celebrities, but a spotlight on Whoopi Goldberg herself. Because if we step back and look at the pattern, this isn't exactly new behavior. Whoopi has a long-running reputation for shutting people down, for steering the tone of The View with an iron grip and a furrowed brow. This is the same Whoopi who once turned Meghan McCain into a meme with just 2 words, "Girl, please." And the same woman who unapologetically dropped out of frame mid-show when the topic of Bennifer 2 came up earlier this year. Her body language that day wasn't just boredom, it was contempt. So when the producers booked Jennifer Lopez, Knowing full well the media frenzy surrounding her divorce, did they really expect Whoopi to keep it polite? Let's not pretend this kind of on-air combat doesn't serve a purpose. The View thrives on tension. Ratings spike with conflict, but Whoopi's recent interactions have felt sharper, colder, more calculated. Multiple sources close to production have quietly admitted she's been growing more intolerant of Hollywood privileged parade guests, especially those who she feels are out of touch. One studio staffer who has worked with Goldberg since 2016 told us, she respects hustle. She does not respect someone floating in here talking about emotional growth while wearing designer heels that cost more than a crew member's monthly rent. Could it be that Whoopi's dig at Lopez wasn't just spontaneous criticism, but something deeper? A kind of simmering resentment toward the elite glamour machine J-Lo represents?
One thing that you really learned?
One thing?
Well, the best, the most important.
That I learned?
That you learned.
It's probably been the journey of like becoming whole on my own.
Right.
I always thought that I was gonna find happiness and love out. Another person was gonna give that to me. And then I realized that that's not how it is at all. Like you actually get to be happy all by yourself.
It's not a stretch to think so. For years, Whoopi has walked a tightrope between her own massive fame and her refusal to play the Hollywood game. She shows up to award shows in sneakers, skips red carpets unless absolutely necessary, and treats trending celebrity gossip with open disdain. She's not a stranger to the spotlight, but she doesn't seem to enjoy sharing it with those she thinks haven't earned it. And when it comes to Jennifer Lopez, who built a brand on sequins, aspirational romance, and curated vulnerability, the contrast couldn't be more jarring. That tension is where this moment metastasized. For all her success, Lopez is also something else. A media magnet with a target on her back. From too many marriages to too much self-promotion, from chart underperformance to that now infamous moment she liked a cryptic breakup post about respect and integrity, J-Lo's every move is scrutinized. The public doesn't just follow her, they pick her apart, and in that way she's always been an easy scapegoat. Because what does Lopez really symbolize in the cultural psyche? A woman who seemingly has it all, but is still accused of wanting more. A performer who built an empire, but still gets labeled thirsty. Why? Is it jealousy? Are we all just collectively exhausted by the idea that someone like her dares to feel sad?
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. After months of speculation, the pair are calling it quits. The singer filing for divorce after 2 years of marriage exactly.
Which is why, when Whoopi called her out, some people cheered. But others paused. Because love her or not, Jennifer Lopez isn't the first high-profile guest to get steamrolled on The View. She's just the latest in a string of targets. We've seen it before. An awkward tension with Barbara Walters back in the day, a dramatic walk-off involving Janine Pirro, the constant on-air combat with political figures. Even Rosie O'Donnell didn't make it out unscathed. And if we follow the breadcrumbs, it starts to look like a pattern, where assertiveness blurs into aggression, where the line between authentic debate and calculated takedown starts to disappear. But Lopez isn't just catching flack from one direction. The internet didn't waste a second before slapping together reaction clips, dissecting her facial expressions, mocking her defense, and dragging up every failed relationship she's ever had. The comment sections read like psychological assessments, as if strangers with usernames like Ben4Life69 have cracked the code to why her marriages end or why her interviews never feel genuine. Maybe we've made her the villain because it's easier than facing the fact that even the most successful people can't keep their lives from falling apart. And then there's the other theory, the one we keep circling but never saying outright, that maybe Jennifer was pushed onto that stage to be publicly humbled. That in some producer's war room, someone saw the headlines, the declining viewership, and made a decision. Give Whoopi the runway and see what burns. They didn't count on how raw it would feel. They didn't expect J-Lo to be genuinely hurt, or maybe they did. Maybe that was part of the sell. Because let's face it, vulnerability sells better when it's unscripted, and no one's rewinding that episode to hear about her skincare line. They're rewinding to hear the moment Whoopi said, "You've got problems, we've got rent due."
If in fact Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck don't have a prenuptial agreement, they've just created a lot of trouble for themselves. They're going to need attorneys, they're going to need accountants to comb through all the financial records. And even though it's only 2 years, they've each made a significant amount of money in these last 2 years.
And maybe that's the real twist here. This wasn't just about two women arguing on daytime TV. It was a collision between two different versions of the American dream. One shaped by grit, control, and earned cynicism. The other shaped by fame, reinvention, and curated optimism. The old guard versus the aspirational icon. And neither one was willing to flinch. But here's the part we can't stop thinking about. If this moment was so off the rails, why hasn't anyone from The View addressed it directly? No social media cleanup, no statement from producers, no "we love Jennifer and thank her for coming" post, just silence. As if they're hoping the buzz will do the work for them. That tells us one thing: it was either exactly what they wanted or it went so sideways they don't know how to spin it. Either way, it's a red flag, because now we're asking questions they probably didn't want asked. Was this confrontation a career-defining misstep for Whoopi, or just another flex of her untouchable status? Is Jennifer Lopez spiraling in real time, or finally shedding the mask of perfection her brand was built on? And most of all, are we watching two women self-destruct on live television, or are we being played by a machine that's been scripting our reactions before the cameras even start rolling? Whatever the truth is, this story isn't done, not by a long shot. The producers might try to bury it, the stars might stay silent, but the internet has a long memory and a thirst for fallout. So we've got to ask, was this just a clash of egos? Or is something even bigger cracking underneath Hollywood's carefully polished surface? Drop your thoughts in the comments, Team Whoopi, Team JLo, or Team What Did I Just Watch? And don't blink, because the next bombshell might be just one commercial break away. Until then, stay curious, stay bold, and stay tuned.